Titans-Seahawks joint practices. I'm going to break down what happened on Wednesday with a very special guest. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver, and as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, which you should be, no Justin Melo today. Justin could not hop on, but we do have someone filling in. Tyler Rowland of Tic Tac Titans will be joining me momentarily to break down what happened on Wednesday at the joint practice between the Titans and the Seahawks. Before I get to that, remind everyone, as I just said, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the Music City Audible channel. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and turn on channel alerts so you get a notification every time we drop a new video. And this podcast is brought to you by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville and Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville. More on Sinkers Beverages and Bluegrass Beverages in just a bit. All right, without further ado then, let's do it. Here comes the host of Locked On Titans, Tyler Rowland. All right, thrilled to welcome on my guest, Tyler Rowland, the host of Locked On Titans, one of, if not the hardest working people in Titans media. Tons of content you've got going up on the Locked On Titans channel, on the Tic Tac Titans channel. Is this, in your opinion, the most epic collaboration in Titans media ever?
I think it may be. I think that seems fair. Now, look, if the people came to watch us fight, they're going to get what they want because my last name is Rowland, like rock and Rowland, not Rowland. So we're already starting off on these terms. We're just going to fight for 30 minutes for everyone. It's like Godzilla and Kong. Let them fight. Like that's all jokes aside. No, thanks for having me on. This is obviously you've been making great content before I ever started making content. So got to give you your credit there. It's a collaboration and a cameo people have been waiting for.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are going to be interested to tune in to see what we have to say to each other. We'll get into some of it. Let's get into some of it, but we'll save it. I think we should talk, obviously, Titans-Seahawks joint practices. First one happened earlier today, if you're listening on Wednesday evening. Second one happens on Thursday, and there was some cool stuff to take away. I want to start. I'm just going to toss it to you if you're comfortable, just telling me some takeaways you had. And let's start with like the one-on-one drill, because that got a lot of buzz, cornerbacks versus wide receivers. Anything stand out to you?
Well, that's great because the biggest play of the one-on-ones was Treylon Burks, dusting Devon Witherspoon. And I think Devon Witherspoon's a fantastic player. So Burks dusts him and goes deep and catches a deep one. And like my big takeaway is we got the full Treylon Burks experience today. You know, like Burks made a big play down the field in one-on-ones on a deep pass. We've seen those little flashes like the Jair Alexander, too small catch that he made. He's been a popular target according to all the reports and 11 on 11. So it seemed like a really good Treylon Burks day. And then at the very end of practice, he pulls up on a deep ball with a cramp. We didn't know it was a cramp when it first got reported, so everybody's like, oh my God, it's truly the full Treylon Burks experience of, he makes big plays. We're getting overly excited. He pulls up lame on a deep ball. Like, I just feel like it's everything we've experienced with him over the last 2 seasons packed into one joint practice day, which surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, his best performances have probably been joint practices. Like against Minnesota last year, he was killing people until he got hurt. So I just feel like this is the Treylon Burks experience that we got on Wednesday.
And that's kind of where I wanted to take it. First of all, I got a small bone to pick with the guys at Titans practice who tweet these reports, and it's nothing against them. Like, obviously, they're just tweeting things as it happens, but sometimes it's okay to wait like 5 or 10 minutes, make sure a guy's not seriously injured before tweeting like, he's holding his hamstring, it looks bad. It's like,
right.
And then apparently he like gave a thumbs up to someone yelling, is it a cramp? And it's like, yeah, it's just a cramp. And then Callahan confirmed that in the press conference that nobody got hurt. There were a couple of people with cramps, JC Latham as well, which is just like, please do not let anything happen to JC Latham.
No, he's a big X factor, so absolutely can't afford that.
But that's where I want to go with Treylon Burks is like, are you buying any of this hype? Because like you just said, we saw this last year. He was quote unquote breaking out in the joint practices against the Vikings, cooking the Vikings DBs back when he was set to be like a major part of the receiving rotation. Now he's just set to be like a complimentary fourth piece, barring the health of DeAndre Hopkins, who it's been reported should be back for week 1. So holding out hope for that. But like, are you buying this Treylon Burks hype? Is it like, well, it's his 3rd year. This is a traditional breakout year for receivers. So we're ready to go all in on reduced role, reduced pressure, all that stuff. Or is it like, we got to wait and see how this happens on the field?
I want to. I want to. At the end of the day, we all just want the Titans to do well. And I want Kenneth Murray to finally live up to his potential. And I want T'Vondre Sweat to be defensive rookie of the year.
No,
even if people
you
don't believe
don't.
me. Right. Of course not. Like I want Jamal Adams to work out, and I want Treylon Burks, and especially because, dude, it's not even this season. It's like looking forward, like the Titans' biggest needs, like they still need a young wide receiver. Like it's not solved long term. And I think edge is more important in my opinion. That's a different conversation for a different day, but like they still need that young wide receiver. And like, we have him on the team. He's there, a former first rounder who's in his athletic prime. Like, I want it so badly to work out, but I just can't bring myself to get hyped. Like it's like I got a lighter and I'm trying to light it up. I'm trying, but the wind is blowing and it's like, I want to, but I just simply can't. I just can't do it. I want to so bad though. So I hope like a lot of things, I just hope I'm wrong. And I hope he goes nuts, and like him breaking a tackle on Saturday night, like, Treylon Burks broken tackle, everybody drink. Like it,
Yeah.
I want it to, but man, I've said this, on my show as well. I just can't buy it. In my heart, I can't. I can say the words, but I know in my heart, I can't buy into it. So I hope he proves us wrong, but no, I can't get on the train again. I've loved and lost. I just can't do it again.
I'm right there with you. Like, I want to believe in the hype, but until we see it happen in an NFL game with some level of consistency, and I'm not even expecting him to be a big contributor because he's going to be rotating in as a fourth guy most of the time, especially when Hopkins is back. But just like the catches that are there for him to make, I don't want to see, like, one of Will Levis's first NFL throws was a beautiful sideline deep bomb to Treylon Burks that was well defended, but also, like, I want to see him go up and make that kind of catch, and I want to see that happen in games. And get up and not jump and body catch it, but like go high point the ball like an NFL receiver.
It's so funny. He did that today in the one-on-ones. He's wide open down the field, totally dusts the guy, and he still, for some reason, jumps in the air and catches it like a baby, like he's holding a baby. I'm like, what are you doing, man? I worry about the balance. Obviously I'm no doctor or anything like that, but like every single injury he's had other than the Philly concussion, it's like he can't hit the ground right. He always hits so hard, and falling is a skill. Like, it really is a skill. Tua went and took judo for a summer to learn how to fall better. Like, that is a skill. And then Minnesota, he just can't stop himself. He's like a baby deer, he's just too big and too long for his body control level. And I don't know if that has got, maybe because he slimmed down, it'll get better, but I can't bet on that. I simply can't.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's talk about more one-on-ones. Calvin Ridley struggled against Tariq Woolen's physicality, and then later, apparently, he did also end up making a catch. I think he struggled on the first 2 reps. There were some conflicting reports about this too, but I did see a clip of him making a nice shallow cross and make the catch on Woolen in one-on-ones also. And then apparently later in the team period, he also sort of got jammed up at the line really bad by Tariq Woolen, and Teron Davenport tweeted, Brian Callahan's going to need to move Ridley around and keep him off press coverage if he wants to get the most out of him. And to me, that's kind of a duh moment for me, because everything that happened with Ridley in Jacksonville, like every time he struggled, it was because they asked him to play tight to the line of scrimmage, physical against press coverage, basically whenever Zay Jones was out. And then when Zay Jones was back, Zay Jones took on that X role, and Ridley moved back to Z, where he's able to move back and forth across formation, line up 3 yards off the line, and get a clean release. So on the one hand, it's like you'd like to see your $92 million receiver beat a physical press coverage corner.
Right.
But on the other hand, he's not going to be asked to do that very much. Callahan is going to put him in the right position to succeed. Nick Holtz was there in Jacksonville, knows when Ridley succeeds and when he doesn't, and is also going to play a major part in this. Where do you fall on the Ridley struggled today topic?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I am more concerned about the inability for Levis and Ridley to be on the same page with the deep ball than I am about the press coverage situation. You said it. This is like people freaking out that L'Jarius Sneed isn't practicing. It's like, where were you guys months ago? And people who I know were paying attention. It's like when they traded for L'Jarius Sneed, we knew that he would be on a management plan. We knew that he didn't practice in training camp a lot. We know that. So why would you freak out now? It just doesn't make any sense. And then with Ridley, it's the same thing. We spent, and I know, we like to chirp on Twitter. That's not just Titans fans. That's what the internet's all about. Okay. And every Jacksonville fan that said, oh, we can't do this, you're like, oh, because you guys were using him like morons. You were using him as that X, doing the stuff that he doesn't do well. So it's like, I'm not going to be mad that the fish is struggling to run against the cheetah. I'll put the fish in water if I want the fish to do its best. It's not going to climb the tree or whatever the analogy is, like we knew that Calvin Ridley struggled with press coverage. We knew that putting him in the Z role so he could be off the line of scrimmage and get, like Teron Davenport says that TD's right. But like, to me, we knew that months ago when they signed him, that would be the role that he needed to play in. Tariq Woolen is super long. He's also super fast. It's like a nightmare for Calvin Ridley because the speed isn't a big advantage, and then he has the length to press him. So to me, it's just, yeah, he didn't play very well in those scenarios, but I'm more worried about the deep ball and how that still isn't there. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're all talking about how the connection isn't there, and it like can plant seeds of negativity. So I tried to manifest some positivity and say we're going to see a deep ball connect on week 1. I hope we do. I hope it continues to get better. People like are so ready for Levis to be great right away. Like he's in year 2, like Josh Allen didn't really blow up until year 3. So like we want it to happen so quick. It may take some time, but Ridley isn't going anywhere. Levis isn't going anywhere. So that to me is more of a game concern than Ridley against press coverage. And like you were saying before I started talking, like we all knew that, so to me, the outrage or the scare is performative at the end of the day. It's just something to be worried about, which I know about performative outrage. Okay. So when I see it, I can call it and I can know it. So yeah. I'm not too worried about the press coverage stuff. We knew it. We knew that.
Yeah. Anything stand out to you from 7-on-7 or teamwork aside from the second team defensive line reportedly getting a sack on 4 straight possessions? And secondarily, does that assuage any of your concerns with the long-term future at edge? Is Jalen Harrell? I didn't see anything about who made these sacks. Was Jalen Harrell? Yeah. I assume he's part of the second team involved in that. I don't know.
Yeah, we can't know for sure. I think in Jim Wyatt's observations, he said like Shane Ray looked good. Rashad Weaver apparently had a good day, so I'm sure he was probably involved in that a little bit. To be honest with you, no, doesn't really quell my concerns. It's like, we all get hyped up every year in training camp about different people, and then we get to the regular season, and it's like, oh, it's the same thing again. Like these big leaps and bounds aren't going to come from these players who we've seen for a few years. So I think the Titans still need, like if they had a top tier edge, like a Myles Garrett, a Nick Bosa, a Micah Parsons, a TJ Watt, like if they had that, they would be the best front 4 in the NFL, maybe, regardless of Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day. Like when you have Simmons and Landry and then a dominant edge, like that would just be absolutely incredible. So I wouldn't say long-term that I'm taking anything away from it, but in the meantime, I mean, I hope so. Because the pass rush, they can't just rely on blitzing all year long. I'm sure that's the plan.
They're gonna.
They know that they don't have a great edge rush situation outside of Harold Landry. I think that's why they're wrapping him in bubble wrap this year. They're like, we cannot afford to not have Harold Landry out there, and we're going to have to blitz a ton with our linebackers. That was probably the plan. So I guess it's good to hear that, but I don't know that it's actionable in terms of the regular. Like, I still think there's an edge need, and I think that they should maybe consider taking a chance on one of these veteran edge rushers just to get another guy in there. But Jalen Harrell, watching his tape, I was impressed with him and his ability to drop back in coverage and kind of be like an overhang defender on the slot so they can stay in base against 3 wide receivers. So I like what he can bring, but I just don't think that any of them are really a pass rush answer outside of Landry this year. And honestly, Arden Key, him as the starter, that is a concern. He is not a starting edge. He's a third rusher. That's what he got paid like. That's what he's supposed to be. So having him as a starter is concerning already. Great for them. I'm glad that they were getting pressure and having wins over there, but I'm still pretty concerned about edge personally. I'm sure you feel similarly just based on your expressions here.
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's probably the biggest concerning position group on the roster. Maybe offensive line, just because we don't know what that's going to look like. I have a lot of hopes for what the offensive line is going to look like, but the edge group is really definitely a big question mark and no depth there at all. And you mentioned Arden Key. Like, look, Hassan Reddick's demanding a trade. Matthew Judon's apparently on the market as well. Like, is Rand going to make something happen here? The thing is, both those guys, the reason that they're not at camp and are potentially up for trade is because the teams they're on don't want to pay them, which for the Jets is like a whole nother insane conversation.
Right.
But the fact that they are on the market, will Rand Carthon pony up extra money? The Titans still do have a decent amount of cap space. I don't expect a move like that to happen, but I'm not ruling it out at this point. Let's talk about Jha'Quan Jackson. Dude had 2 touchdowns today. Both of them apparently very long. One of them a catch and run. The other one was more of a long ball, or were they both
Be
catch
careful
and
with
run
the
passes?
yardage. We don't need to talk yardage. Things can get crazy if we go for
And I think
numbers.
since you mentioned it, Will Levis definitely had a 50-plus yard scramble today. Just kidding. Jha'Quan Jackson, like, he hasn't really been playing a lot with the first team, but we saw a great return in the preseason game, and now we see these big plays he's making. He also won a lot of one-on-one reps in that portion of today's practice. I think the Titans, they obviously hope that they found a gem here with a late round pick, but he's going to give Kyle Phillips, Mason Kinsey, and every other slot type guy on this roster some really good competition. And if he keeps making plays like this, like he did in practice today, I think he's got a real shot to make the team.
Oh, I think he's going to make the team. I think based on Brian Callahan's comments saying that they're going to have 6 wide receivers dress every Sunday, I think that they'll probably keep 7, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
It's going to be 2 of the 4 slots. Phillips, Jha'Quan Jackson, Kearis Jackson, Mason Kinsey. Look, they're not keeping Mason Kinsey. He's going to be on the practice squad, and that's what he is. He's a practice squad level player in the NFL. And dude, I would love to be a practice squad level player in the NFL. So it's not a knock. I'll go from the booth to the field in a second if I could snap my finger and do it. We are talking about football because we weren't good enough to keep playing football. That's why this happened, So
right.
Anyways, Mason Kinsey isn't going to be there. They're going to keep 2 of those 3 guys, Kearis, the 2 Jacksons, and then Kyle Phillips. And I'll just say this. If Jha'Quan Jackson keeps making plays like this, there is just no need for Kyle Phillips. I would rather go with Kearis Jackson and have a backup returner who I can trust and go with Jha'Quan as the number 1 guy. I really do think that Tajay Spears is going to be the kickoff returner in the season. I think that's going to be the situation. So really it's punt return, but you just can't afford to have Kyle Phillips be in a position to return punts. It's clear that he just has the yips. He can't figure it out. Feel bad for the guy. That sucks to have that happen, but that's a reality. So to me, I love hearing Jha'Quan Jackson is playing better because they need him to be a good enough wide receiver to where they can replace Kyle Phillips entirely and have the best of both worlds with special teams. But I do fear, while everyone's excited about Jha'Quan Jackson, Tyler Boyd was out with a foot bruise. So the only reason that Jha'Quan Jackson was working with the 2s is because Phillips bumped up to the 1s and Jha'Quan bumped up from 3 to 2s. So will he actually stay working with the 2s and have a chance to jump Kyle Phillips? I don't know. I think it was more of a product of Tyler Boyd, but you keep making plays like that and they'll give you a chance. So
exactly,
you got to play. So
all he needs is to earn the opportunity to play with the 2s. You go out there with that opportunity on Wednesday and make a couple huge plays.
Yep.
Maybe you get another opportunity going forward. Another guy that is making a lot of noise at the back end of the wide receiver room is Bryce Oliver.
Right.
And he apparently has this connection with Malik Willis. Now, we saw literally the best throw that anyone made in the preseason game between the Niners and Titans was Malik Willis's sideline dart to Bryce Oliver that did not count because of an illegal formation penalty. But then today, the report, if you just read the list, the live tweeting of what's happening at practice, it's like Malik Willis connects with Bryce Oliver. Malik Willis finds Bryce Oliver again. Malik Willis, Bryce Oliver. They have a real connection that if it doesn't go anywhere else, I'm at least excited to see it continue for the rest of the preseason.
Yeah, it gives us something to watch. This is going to be one of those Titans legendary stories of the training camp. Remember that one summer where Bryce Oliver was just nasty on the 3rd team? I hope that Bryce Oliver replaces one of the Treshaun Harrison or even Colton Dow. Let's just give Bryce Oliver the opportunity to be the practice squad number 1 wide receiver. And he can work scout team with Malik since they have a good connection. I'm just willing to take a chance on other guys. Some of these Mike Vrabel guys who have been around for a couple of years as UDFAs or whatever, let's just churn them out and see what Bryce Oliver has. And maybe they can get, a new wide receiver 5 eventually out of a guy like that. So it is exciting. But again, I guess it's one of those things where I'm will it really impact Sundays ever? Probably not.
No.
But it would be nice to just get some new blood in and at least have the chance. At least there's some potential that we don't know if he's good or not. I know that Treshaun Harrison is never going to impact the team. I don't know about Bryce Oliver though. So you got to sell hope or you got to sell wins, and Harrison and all them aren't going to help wins. Bryce Oliver, you could sell hope.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, some of these guys, there are undrafted free agent receivers who go on to have great careers, and all they needed was a chance. And I'm sure there's plenty of others who never got that chance who may have potentially been successful. So I don't want to get, Titans Twitter has an obsession with picking on the back end of the roster wide receiver and just latching on for dear life. Yes. I don't want to have that happen with Bryce Oliver, because then you just put unrealistic expectations on the guy. But at the same time, it's kind of exciting to have him. Anything else that stood out to you from this joint practice that we haven't hit on?
I guess the offensive line looked to have some good moments. There were some wins in one-on-ones. Andrew Rupcich, that's really what we got.
That's a good one. We should talk Andrew Rupcich.
Totally. What's the phrase from Matthew Berry where he self-promotes? I forget what it is, but it's real famous on Fantasy Focus for forever. Shameless plug. He says it's shameless plug. I did my film breakdown on Andrew Rupcich on the Tic Tac Titans film channel on YouTube. And I was just utterly impressed with what he was able to do. And although I've been a Dylan Radins supporter, Rupcich could finally have developed here. And I don't think that Dylan Radins is good enough to where you don't take a shot and look at what Rupcich can do. So Rupcich appeared to have another good day. I saw a report where Tajay Spears had a few good runs right behind Andrew Rupcich. He had some run with the first team, couple of drives as well. So I think we got to give credit there. Tajay Spears, like I said, had a few good runs. So I think the offensive line, while maybe they struggled to run the ball in some of the team periods, I think they're holding their own. They don't look like an absolute disaster according to all the reports. And that, I think, is super important. I never expected the Titans offensive line to go from the worst in the league to great all of a sudden. But if they could just be okay, they could just be average. Good. And by the end of the season, maybe they get a little bit better than average. I think it's definitely going to be a slow burn. But Andrew Rupcich could be part of the answer there if Dylan Radins can't hold on. So I'm at least excited about that. He deserves his props.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Rupcich, because it just feels like the coaching staff doesn't want him to win the job. They didn't even put a right guard in the depth chart when after Sadiq Charles retired. They just left it blank until they had to update it. And now they're giving Rupcich run with the ones. He's apparently looking pretty good. Your film breakdown indicates that he's got some raw talent there. Now Bill Callahan's coaching him. He's never obviously hasn't worked under Bill Callahan when he was a rookie last year. So maybe there's a chance here for a surprise winner at the right guard job. All right, I think we covered training camp pretty well. Will Levis I think everyone always wants to hear about Will Levis. He was fine. He didn't have any great plays. Apparently they were working on quick, short passes, so there wasn't a lot of those downfield shots. The one deep shot he took to Ridley, we already talked about, overthrew him. So that connection's still developing. But I think we covered joint practices. You got to go soon here for your live stream. But we should talk, Tyler. We should talk. Dun, 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 dun. We've gotten into it on Twitter a few times. I think people out there have probably seen some of it. I'll just be completely real with you. Sometimes I come at you because I feel like you like to play both sides of a coin. You like to say, this thing's happening, and then a few months later, you like to say, never mind, this thing's happening. And then whatever happens, you can say you were right because you claimed both sides. Now, I understand people change their minds, but is that what's happened here, Tyler? You change your mind a lot, or am I out of line? What do you think?
Well, I think just overall, you're not like an idiot, like you're a smart guy,
well,
so I'm sure that there are probably some circumstances where you are dead on. But I think a lot of the time what happens is I give a strong opinion on something that I think is going to happen, and then it doesn't. And then what I do is I say, okay, like T'Vondre Sweat, like everybody, oh, you switched up on Sweat, total 180. Because I've been talking positive about him. Why? Because there have been positive reports. So it's like, I keep giving the example of, I told everybody that it wasn't going to rain. It's going to be a nice day. And then we walked outside and it's pouring. Well, I'm not going to look everybody in the face and be like, man, sure is a dry day out here. Sure is nice. Like, no, we need to get an umbrella, folks. I was wrong. It's raining. So I think a lot of the time, I get that comment sometimes in my comment section on my show, like, dude, you totally changed your opinion. And it's like, to me, there's a difference between my opinion of what will happen and then my analysis of what has happened, So I feel like sometimes it's that. I will say that the draft board thing you came at, that was nonsense. Yes, I changed my draft rankings. Yes, I watched film on a player and I feel different about him now. Like, everybody does that. That is like draft boards change. Like that was crazy. But I think that sometimes that is a reality. I'm sure I've done that before. I talk 2.5 hours a week. I feel like this happens So I don't intentionally do that sometimes if I do it, but that's fair. But I feel like sometimes, there is an element of two things. I want to take accountability, but I feel like because I'm so bold and brash, that attracts that sort of energy, and that was the case for me before I ever had a show. Like on my local Facebook with people I grew up with in the small town I'm from, like people would argue with me all the time and fight other people in my comments and stuff. Like I just create an environment where people want to argue and there's a lot of high tension because I'm just a high tension guy. So I will take accountability from that standpoint that I kind of create the environment that sometimes I complain about. I have more to do with it than sometimes I want to admit. But also I do think there's an element here of I kind of just showed up one day and I don't have a degree and I'm not from Tennessee. And, I just got the Locked On podcast out of nowhere. And now, my podcast has gotten big. So I'm not saying you personally feel this way because you're doing your thing and you're doing well. But I feel like some people in the fan base probably are like, who the hell does this guy think he is? Like he could just show he's not from here. He doesn't have any experience. He doesn't cover the team like on the beat. Like I could just see how a lot of people would be resentful of that. And the person who had my show before me was very resentful of that and rude to me consistently for no reason because he's probably just mad that he made the wrong choice and his thing plummeted and now mine's doing really well. Like, so I will take accountability for the type of person I am and the energy that I attract based on the energy I put out and create. But also I think there is that element of it of my kind of just pop up out of nowhere, no credentials. Now I'm, my show's doing so well. That probably does rub some people the wrong way at the end of the day.
I will stick up for Jimmy. I think Jimmy just wanted to walk away from the daily grind of having to do a podcast every single day, which much respect to you for picking up that grind and carrying it on. I know you got to go, so I'll let you go. I just want to say, Tyler, I do feel like we have a rivalry. It's not like a bitter rivalry, but it's like I check your numbers, your YouTube numbers, and like the MCA YouTube channel is a lot newer, so I'm giving myself a grace period here, but you are dominating us in terms of view count. So like sometimes there's a tension of like a rivalry, like, man, I feel like my content's just as good, but we're getting, your recap of the preseason game got over 10,000 views and ours got a little over 2,000. It's like, I'll take a little over 2,000, but where's the 10,000? Where are all these people? Like, come to our show too. Like, you got time to listen to both shows. So sometimes I do think that that's part of it. But I really appreciate you coming on here. I really appreciate you waiting. For the listeners, like I had to delay this because of my work schedule and you are delaying your own live stream for us. So we really appreciate your time. And again, really respect the work you put in because I'll say it again. I don't think anyone works harder than you in this Titans community of breaking down film and the amount of grinding that you do. So
there is no shortcut on the film. I know you've done your own film cut ups and things like that, dude. The film, watching it, understanding it. Like, I don't know, like, what you're talking about. So I'm not going to act like I know your exact level of football knowledge. You know what I mean? But like, there's so much stuff that I don't know that I'm seeing because I just don't know. And I have like a high school degree in football and there are people with masters and doctorates and professional level knowledge. And it's just like, the film is hard, just knowing what you're seeing. And then the time to cut it and then the time to edit and doing the actual breakdowns, like it definitely does take time. But I appreciate you saying that because I do try to work hard. At the end of the day, I'm just like, I didn't graduate college. I'm just a fan. Like I don't have any traditional experience. So the only way to do it is to work as hard as possible and hope that carries through. But a couple of crazy, fiery hot takes help the numbers too, Justin. Don't be too down the middle and responsible. All right, get a little crazy sometimes, and it'll help too. That's just that's more about the society we're in and the climate of sports coverage than it is about any one person, though. Like that's just what people think that the tail is running the dog when really the fans are the dog and the tail is the media. We are chasing what you guys want, not what we want to do. And what fans respond to is crazy hot takes. That's just the reality. So blame yourselves.
Thanks, Skip Bayless. And thanks, Tyler, for joining us. Really appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
Take care, dude. Have a good time.
All right. Thanks again to Tyler for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Me and Melo will be back, I think, tomorrow. We'll see. Probably tomorrow. Justin Melo will be back. We're going to recap the Thursday joint practice and look ahead to Saturday's preseason game against the Seahawks. So that'll do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks to Sinkers Beverages. Sinkers is the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Their knowledgeable staff is proud to help you with large parties, themed events, or finding something unique for a special occasion. From birthday parties to milestone celebrations to everyday moments, Sinkers can help with the right drink for every occasion. And if you head to the sinkersbeverages.com website or check the link in this podcast description, you can join the In Crowd. In Crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, we really appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, like, and turn on alerts so you get a channel notification every time we drop a new video. Plus, comment. Please comment below. Did you like me and Tyler's pod version here without Justin? What did you like from joint practices? What do you need to see more of from certain players on this team? Let us know. Anything you want to comment in the comments below. We appreciate you guys. Again, we'll hopefully be back tomorrow. No promises, though. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.